All right, we're here. Wait, where's my chat? Oh, there it is. Hey. Late? I'm not late, guys. There's no official time I should be here. If you think about it. Let me make sure everything on my stream here is good. I think we're good. I think we're so good right now. Oh, this game's gonna get rolled by oh, is the new Monster Hunter coming out? I've never found Monster Hunter super fun. I've tried it a few times. I can't get into it, but people love it though, which is good. I don't know how similar Monster Hunter's like player base is with WoW. I've definitely known WoW players that like play Monster Hunter. Like Preheat played a lot of Monster Hunter. I definitely think there's a lot more crossover in like Final Fantasy. Like I remember when I was playing Final Fantasy and a new Monster Hunter game came out, like every single streamer was like playing Monster Hunter. Like I don't know why. Japanese game developers, similar thing maybe. It's an extremely hit or miss game. You are either obsessed with it or just won't enjoy it. Yeah. Max, you don't need to do the race to world last at exactly March 3rd. 2 days before the race to world first is fine. The content is already good enough. I mean, I'm busy the whole weekend though, you know? I don't know if that's gonna be the case. Dude, I didn't check Twitter this morning and I just tweeted like, I tweeted announce the patch. And then I tweeted a picture of Grandma in the cage. But then it turned out they already announced the patch. Surely you aren't still on X, the everything app? I still am. I don't know why. I don't have any other social media at all. I don't have TikTok. I don't have Instagram. But I don't know, dude. My algorithm on Twitter kind of owns. Like, I don't have any politics on there. I don't see any weird culture war shit on there. I just see, like, funny-ass tweets. Like, really funny fucking tweets and sports stuff. Get Blue Sky. No, I don't have... Someone took my name on Blue Sky, so I have to hate on it for the rest of my life. Isn't Max's Goat Lord you on Instagram? That's a Instagram account for me that someone else made for like sponsor stuff, but I don't like interact with it. I don't read it. Thoughts on Kendrick's halftime show? I thought it was alright. It's fine. Definitely not like a goated halftime show. There's like way better ones, but I like Kendrick's music, so it was pretty cool. How can I nuke my ex so I get rid of OnlyFans ads, politics, and culture wars? Well, okay, so I have a couple of really good, like, you can mute certain words. That's how you curate it. Because, like, for me, my algorithm on X... Oh, my God, I just called it X unironically. My algorithm on Twitter is so fucked up, or used to be, because, like, if I saw some crazy, like, right-wing political post, or, like, you know, just some, like, alpha male shit, I would, like, go into the comments kind of like you would go to the zoo. Like you want to look at all the crazy people. But like I think Twitter doesn't know the difference between wanting to go to the comment section to go to the zoo. And they're like, you like this all the time. Well, it's like, no, actually going to the zoo is great, but I actually don't want to go to the zoo every day. I sometimes want to go to the zoo. But like, if you ever look at the comment sections of that shit, they just think that you think that shit. So they just like feed it to you. So I just gave up on it. I don't go to the zoo as much anymore on Twitter. So I think I banned I like muted anything that has to do with Elon Musk, anything with like Trump, Biden, Kamala Harris, anything political. And every now and then I'll just see a word. DEI got put on there pretty recently. Woke is on there. Anytime someone's typing the word woke or DEI, that shit's gone. I don't want to see any of that shit. Like, who fucking cares? You know, so but if you gotta like actively keep up with it. Every now and then the worst person you know has a new thing they're tweeting about all the time. You just gotta mute that word. You can't like permanently mute them in a way. Only word I have muted on Twitter is boomkin. Oh, that's so good. I muted Max and my page has been a banger since. All right, I appreciate the random flame in my direction, but I don't even tweet. Like, I actually don't tweet. What's your impression of the next tier from what you saw in the PTR? The raid? I don't know. The raid's fine. The patch looks really, really cool, though. Max, are you happy or disappointed about the normal, heroic, and mythic launch being together? Definitely. Okay, so like I don't feel anything now because we've known for like 6 months that there was not going to be a heroic week. So I'm like over it. But I mean, I'm not a fan of it at all. I think it's bad. It's certainly bad for what I care about. Makes the race a little sketchier because they're way worse at class tuning and way worse at tuning the raid because they need that week to do that. So it just kind of makes the way that I like the game just worse because it's not, the quality is noticeable when they don't have heroic week, the drop off. But I mean, that doesn't, I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm just speaking for me. But I mean, we've known about it for a while, so it's not like I'm actively thinking about it and upset. Higher odds of overtuned and no easy first 6 though. I think if there's anything that is likely to happen in this raid is that I think just based on history and WoW, I think bosses usually raids are like a rebound from what you saw in the previous raid. Like if the previous raid was super hard, usually the next raid like takes it easy a little bit, at least historically. Now you would argue that after Amir Drasil, they would have made... I mean, well, even Amir Drasil, though, like Nerebar Palace was a rebound from Amir Drasil. Like, what Blizzard kept saying in interview was like, yeah, Tundra was hard, but the main reason you guys were, like, really upset about it was because Laredar and Naimu were too easy, so you just got here too fast. Which, there is merit to that. So they just made, like, Laredar and Naimu way harder, right? Like, Nexus Princess and Brood Twister were just really hard. That was like a direct response to Amir Drasil. Now in this raid, you could go in either direction. You could think that the 3rd and 4th bosses will be harder because they think the reason Brood Twister was such a big shock was because it was just so easy to kill 4 bosses that people were at Brood Twister before they should have been. So that might mean that something like Styx and Rick Reverb might be like a little harder than like Sikran and Rashnan were. In this raid, we complained that 3 or 4 was too easy, so they're making 3 and 4 harder. Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like for example, I think if nothing else changed in this raid, other than Sikran and Rashnan were slightly harder, at least the raiding community, I think, would have been generally happier because way less guilds would have made it to Brood Twister before it was nerfed. Because, like, what happened this raid was you made it through the first 4, and then it was like there was an unprogressible boss. That is, like, the worst thing you could ever have happen as a Blizzard designerman. Right? So, like, I think by making a couple like, there are people who really enjoy just any bosses dying for any reason, and they can just get gear. Like, Mythic Plus players especially. Like, raid is a means to an end. To get gear, you need a Mythic Plus. So, like, if you can kill 4 Mythic bosses with rationing being easy, that's a good thing. But if you're someone who actually wants to clear the whole raid, the 3rd and 4th bosses being too easy, and then Brood Twister not being necessarily too hard from being the 4th to the last boss. Historically, it wasn't too much harder than bosses in that spot. It's just that, like, the jump from Rashinan to that was huge. So I think there's definitely merit. But I mean, you can't have it both ways, you know? Like, some people are really happy that 4 Mythic bosses were puggable. That's a good thing too, right? The fact that a lot of people in the community can get a 2-box in Mythic, that's pretty sick. But, like, that comes at a cost, right? The cost is, like, the next boss is, like, basically unprogressible. Although that's happened before. Like, that happened in Vault of the Incarnates, right? You did the first boss, and you did Primal Council, and then you stopped. Like, the difference between Primal Council and Terra's difficulty was pretty huge, and, like, the gear you got from it wasn't worth the trade-off. Unless you were going through the whole raid. Would you not say that Tomb of Sargeras has a similar problem with host or mistress? So the Tomb of Sargeras problem was really interesting, where Mistress was kind of like Desolate Host was later in the raid than Mistress, but Desolate Host was a total joke, and Mistress was, like, way too hard. Like, Mistress was, like, the 3rd boss in the Dungeon Journal or something. Maybe the 4th. So it was, like, not... That was just, like, an early boss being too hard. Which I've said before, I think is always a mistake. Like, I think anytime there's a mid-raid wall, I think that is a error on Blizzard's part. That is, like, kind of objectively bad for the game. There's, like, a few people who are like, I love when bosses are crazy hard really early for some reason. And then, like, a bunch of guilds die, though. Because they're just not good enough to be on that boss yet. Where if that same boss, if your Painsmiths, if your Ashvanes, if your Gorefiends still existed and they were still in the raid, they were just later where the difficulty curve naturally lined up better, less guilds would die, and all the good guilds that like killing hard bosses would still kill that hard boss. It just wouldn't be earlier in the raid for no reason and then make guilds die. Wait, so Mythic releasing week 1 is a new thing, right? No. It was like that for all of Dragonflight. And then it wasn't like that in Erebar Palace, and they're going back to it. It's been announced since the beginning of the expansion they were doing this. Early Mythic bosses will never be a big push for cutting-edge guilds. Having easy first kill bosses is just good for most of the community. I think the first 2 bosses, I completely agree. I think last year, like the 3rd and 4th boss being that easy that early, I think definitely was a negative thing for most people in raids. Because people weren't like pugging 4 out of 8 in like week 1, 2, or 3, but the guilds that naturally progressed there, like there was no reason for them to even raid. They just like easily killed the first 4 bosses, and then they just could not even possibly do Brood Twister. But Brood Twister wasn't super unfair. It was just... I mean, I've said this take before, but I think the Brood Twister problem will probably continue to exist. The Brood Twister and Tendril problem. The I am now at a boss that's way too hard for me situation. I think that's going to continue to happen if they only make 8 bosses a raid. I think 8 bosses just simply isn't enough. If you look at what the average end boss difficulty is on Mythic and the average first boss difficulty, getting from point A to point B there is just really fucking hard to do in 8 total fights without there being a big jump somewhere. Because the jump between 1 to 8 is insane, so you have to get there somehow. You know? If it's the second to last boss, you get Tendril. If it's the 4th to last boss, you get Brood Twister. The jump's going to be there, though, you know? Rashinan wasn't easy puggable early on. You haven't seen the pugs if you think it was. Yeah, I didn't say it was. It was possible to be pugged, but it wasn't easy. The average pulls for Rashinan was 10 to 19 for this entire farm period. Like the entire tier. Which is like a pretty... That's like a normal 4th boss, though. Like, think about 4th bosses in WoW's history. Right? Let's just think of Shadowlands. So, like, your 4th boss was what? Like, Zymox or maybe Sun King... Maybe Hungering Destroyer, depending on which direction you went. But, like, all those bosses, 20 pulls sounds about right. You know? Those weren't bad. Sanctum of Domination. 4th boss was way harder than Rashinan, right? 4th boss in there would have either been Remnant of Ner'zhul or Soul Render, both of which significantly harder than Rashinan. What about Sepulcher? Well, Sepulcher's a weird raid. But even then, I mean, wasn't your 2nd boss like Skolex and your 3rd boss either Zymox or DeSausage? Wasn't Brood Twister more of a WeakAura and comp boss? Yeah, well, I guess, but like everyone has the WeakAuras. I think Brood Twister is just hard. Like, it hit tanks really hard. The damage check to kill the ads is really hard. The positioning requirement... See, that's one thing that I think they did wrong. I think is, like, if you just don't break an egg, you wipe. That's, like, kind of steep for a... not a second to last boss or last boss. I guess that wasn't true. We missed eggs in progression and played through it. But it's just way harder. You want to know what's crazy, by the way? Brood Twister on PTR had a private aura for getting the egg break debuff. So if they wouldn't have changed that, which we like heavily complained about it, we meaning like probably the entire Raced World First community, not like our guild specifically, I'm sure everyone did, but you would have had to press a fucking macro to make that thing work too. Holy shit. Yeah, but good on them though. The private auras last raid weren't bad. They were fine. They were there, but they weren't there at the same time, you know? I mean, I definitely don't think they wanted Brood Twister to be that hard. I also don't think they wanted Nexus Princess to be that hard. But also, Nexus Princess wasn't actually that hard. Like, basically, if that boss had killable HP with 4 healers and you didn't, or with 2 tanks and you didn't have to do the 1 tank thing, I mean, that boss would have died like a day earlier and had a much more reasonable pull count and time spent on it for like a third to last boss. I did find that funny, though. When we were on Brood Twister in progression, people were like, this boss is so hard. I wonder why they don't go to Nexus Princess. And then I'm just sitting here thinking, like, you guys have no fucking idea. Nexus Princess is so much harder. If you need WeakAuras for a boss, there's a problem. I believe that's bad design. Yeah, I think most people would agree with that. But also, I think... I think it's hard to determine what you actually need WeakAuras for, because like literally every mechanic, someone's gonna make a WeakAura for it that's like kind of optimal, but like you could totally do the fight without WeakAuras and it would be totally fine. Like probably 90% of mechanics. But then there are mechanics like the Brood Twister eggs, where without WeakAuras, like there's just no fucking way. There's just no way you could have done it in that time without it taking a lot longer. Or they would have had to give you way more time to actually naturally spread out. Or like put markers on the eggs naturally and then like let like the actual debuffs in the game give you something that assigns you, which is basically like baking a WeakAura in. So I agree with you. I agree with you with the general statement that anytime a fight requires WeakAuras, it's bad. I would just say that if you were to poll the average raider, what they would cite as required would be like 90% of that I would disagree with. Like you could just Like, there's so many mechanics in progression where we don't need a weak aura for it at all, but like there's an optional one made that like 2 people in our guild use, but then our guild pack goes out, and then every guild leader requires their raiders to turn on all the weak auras, which we don't even do. And then like now they're like, well, you need a weak aura for this mechanic, but you just don't. It's just there as an option in case our players want it. Like, the way we implement weak auras to our raiders is they're basically all turned off, and they can just turn on the stuff they want. But when we give it to the community, they're all by default on. So your UI is just like crazy complicated. Might be a stupid question, but are there raids that have harder healing checks than others, or are they almost all the same difficulty? Oh yeah. There are raids that are significantly harder to heal than other raids, like historically. Same with tanking. There are raids that do absolutely nothing to tanks, and there are raids that just totally shit on tanks. It's kind of random, actually. I mean, healing is always like, healing's going to be hard, because if healing isn't hard, you'll make it hard. You'll just underheal. Like, if healing isn't hard, you just drop a healer, and then now it's hard to heal, but there's just 3 of you. Is the best raid of all time Antorus or Throne of Thunder? Antorus is an interesting take for that. I mean, it's subjective. I think my 3 favorite raids since Cataclysm, because I like to separate Vanilla through Wrath, I think was its own era, and I think like a lot of modern raiding, you could probably separate it into more eras, but I usually do everything past Wrath as a rating, and then just ignore everything from Wrath to Classic. The big 3 that stick out are Throne of Thunder, Nighthold, and then there's big competition for the 3rd one. Like, Blackrock Foundry was amazing. Siege of Orgrimmar was amazing. Castle Nathria was amazing. Hellfire Citadel, not quite for me, and Taurus wouldn't make it there for me. It would be Blackrock Foundry, or honestly, I think Castle Nathria. I think Castle Nathria is like very close, but it's probably Blackrock Foundry. Stone Legion Generals. Yeah, the fact that Castle Nathria is such a banger raid, even including Stone Legion Generals, is crazy. Like, if that raid had not even a generational second to last boss, but like a pretty good one, it would be like top 3 in everyone's list ever. No Firelands. Firelands is good for the same reason Battle of Dazar'alor is good, where like they had a bunch of really creative, unique, cool bosses, but they were just all so easy that it wasn't really memorable. Like, you cleared all the bosses in Firelands in one day, even though they were sick. Same thing with Battle of Dazar'alor. We cleared to the last boss in 1 raid. But like, Opulence was insane. Then Rosticon was cool. Conclave was cool. Mechatork was cool. They're all really cool. They're just too easy. And I think that matters. Like, you know, if something's so easy that you don't even have to like think about problem solving it, it just dies. Like, that lowers the quality of something for sure, especially near the end of a raid. Blackrock Foundry is great, but you would say the fights outside of Blackhand were a bit meh. Ooh, I don't know about that. Like, the only meh fights in Blackrock Foundry were like that one like huntsman boss, like the pack leader guy, the guy that spawned all those ads. Like, that boss was mid. But like, Operator Thogar is like one of the best bosses ever in Blackrock Foundry, and it's not the end boss. Ore Gorger is a great early fight. Iron Maidens was pretty good. Blast Furnace is so overrated. Like, hopefully none of you guys are actually out here saying like Blast Furnace was a banger. Like, that's the classic example of like a boss becoming the second to last boss purely due to bad tuning, where none of the design would actually make it seem like one, and it was actually just like super mid. It was just very weird. Nyalotha S tier. Nah, Nyalotha had some cool fights. It just, I don't know. I feel like Carapace is just a huge letdown. The Zoth was like fine. Rodem was fine. Most people hate Il'gynoth in that raid because you like did the no to spell thing, which sucked. But like if you did Il'gynoth the real way, that boss fucking slapped. It was so good. It was so good. It was so good. Nothing with corruption as a progression system can be S tier. I mean, probably the best time to Mythic Plus ever was BFA Season 4, and that had corruption in it. But although most of that was with the vendor and stuff. What's the best boss in a raid you don't like? Oh, what a question. That's such a good question. I don't know. I'm going to have to go on live and like look at a list of raids and tell you a raid I don't like and then find a boss from it. But I usually can appreciate like most raids. Like what raid just like fucking stinks? Like 9.2 or 9.1 was a really bad patch, but I don't think Sanctum of Domination stinks. I mean, but that's pretty easy. Like, it's just pain. I mean, maybe Sanctum of Domination does suck. Actually, no. Like, Sanctum of Domination, the middle of Sanctum of Domination is, like, all time. Like, Remnant of Ner'zhul into Soul Render into Painsmith is fucking great. But it was, like, super bad after that with Sylvanas being pretty good. But, like, and then the first part. I mean, actually, Terragru is, like, one of the best first bosses ever, too, actually. I don't know if it's... Yeah. Dude, what raids suck? Nerebar Palace is fine. Just really hard. Mirror is fine. Aberrus is fine. Vault was fine. Actually, was Vault a bad raid on Mythic? I could see the argument. Like, Razageth on Mythic is legit terrible. Broodkeeper actually ended up being pretty good, where I... Like, here's my Broodkeeper take. I think Broodkeeper was about as good as it possibly could have been for what they gave them. Like when someone was like, here's the boss I want you to make. Remember that boss back in Classic with all the eggs? You have to do that, but like in 2023. And they're like, okay. And now the best a boss can be at that very moment is like just okay. And it ended up being just okay. It's not dog shit. Although it is kind of... It kind of depends on what you're doing. Like, if you're in the ad group in P1, I think Broodkeeper is actually just a good boss. Because I think everyone likes P2. Like, P2 is just a good phase. Like, 50 to 0 or whatever. Or, I don't know if it's roughly 50, but... Dude, if you're one of the DPS who's sitting on the boss in P1, you're legit so bored it's crazy. You're just actually doing nothing, and everything's just happening around you. That was pretty bad. But Broodkeeper P2 is nice. But think about it. Like, Kurog, I think, is a shitty designed fight, but, like, was pretty fun to play. Like, Kurog is a nice replayable farm boss. Dathia... No, this boss has a very low approval rating. So, like, if you think about it, Taros is a great early boss, but it dropped terrible loot, so that sucked. Aranog and Primal Council were your quick 2-box, but because of that, they were kind of not very memorable. Then Senarth was beans, Dathia was beans, Kurog was fine, Broodkeeper was beans, and Razageth was beans. I mean, this raid just kind of stinks, right? I don't know if I, like, super dislike it, but it kind of stinks. Alright, what about Shadowlands? Everything here's fine. BFA, any stinkers? Eternal Palace is probably the closest, but, like, Ashvane, good fight. Orgazoa, good fight. But, like, a lot of people hate Zakul, mostly because of the damage stopping. Queen Ashara is just a fucking super mid-end boss. So I guess this raid's pretty close. Uldir's super whatever. Emerald Nightmare wasn't a terrible raid. It was just really easy. Okay, I'm now learning to answer your question. I can't really do it because I don't know what raids. I don't know if there's any raids that I'm like, this raid was terrible. I don't know if there's any of them that I could put that distinction on. Heart of Fear was horrible. You know, maybe it was. I really enjoyed Heart of Fear, though. So that's like, I have too much nostalgia bias. Like, I shouldn't give you any opinions on how good I think, like, Mogushenwald's Heart of Fear and Terrace of Endless Spring was. Because that's when I, like, actually really started going hard at this game and got really good and was getting in better guilds and stuff. So, like, that time is really important to me. I look at that time period with rose-tinted glasses. There's certainly nostalgia involved. So, like, my opinion, I know my opinion isn't going to be very, like, relatable or sound, so I just won't give it. Coward. I don't know, it's just going to... I don't know, I don't want to give a take that's, like... You know, biased. I guess we're all biased, you know. What's a boss you hate in a raid you love? Oh, there's a bunch of good ones there, probably. That's a way easier thing to answer. Let's start with the most recent one. I don't really hate any boss in this raid. Most recent one. Even then... The really, like, offensive bosses in Amirdrasil are early. It's like, how can you hate Council of Dreams? Like, it's just a one-shot, piss-easy boss, you know? It's like, why would you... It doesn't matter enough for you to hate it. Like, Agira. Agira's just, like, so whatever, but it's, like, the second boss. Like, why would you even care enough about it to hate something that's so easy? Okay. But I think community-wise, people definitely hated Council of Dreams. And I think that's fair because it was a good boss on PTR, but then they just, like, changed the amount of spores that spawned to where it just required you being a duck for, like, the whole fight. Or a couple people being a duck the whole fight, which is pretty stupid. Aberys? I liked Aberys. Their boss in here that sucks. I mean, people would say Skarn. I like Skarn. Skarn was fun for us to do. But I understand that it was a very different experience for a lot of other people. Even Magmarax. Like, Magmarax seemed so basic. And, like, I just couldn't believe it was that simple and that late in the raid. And everyone said it was just way too easy. But then also, every single guild wiped, like, 20 plus times on it. So it was a little harder than people gave it credit for, but I didn't hate Magmarax. Echo of Neltharion, I didn't hate it, but also I wasn't in the raid pressing macros, so I probably would have. But it was fun to problem solve. Vault of the Incarnates. Razageth on Mythic. I mean, I understand that I'm biased for multiple reasons on this fight. Like, number one, we lost because it got nerfed and killed when we were asleep. That's just like, hey, this is my stream, you're gonna hear my opinion. Razageth was a bad Mythic boss in general, but, like, it's extra bad to me because I will never get over that ever. But then also, like, Race to World First specific problems, this was just a super frustrating boss to progress. Like, what's really fun about progression is you get better at bosses. You start out wiping a lot, and then you wipe less because everyone's getting better. You're getting better as a group, and every player is getting better. But, like, Razageth never felt like that. It felt like you were just at unprogressible walls that were super overtuned, and they had to be nerfed. Like, the ad phase literally got nerfed in half. That's how hard it was. You had a 20-man one side to get through it, and they nerfed it in half. Then you get to the Storm Shield. They had to nerf the fuck out of that. You get to the last phase. I mean, what they did to the last phase was insane. So, like, you never felt like you were actually progressing at the fight. You were just, like, as good as you could be with this unprogressible thing, and then it was just easy. It was so frustrating. I'm not sure how it was to play, but very frustrating to, like, think about. Do you think that's a boss was changed from PTR to launch? Razageth? We'd never tested Razageth. Low-key, Castle Nathria might have been the best raid in recent years. That's not low-key. That is like a extremely common opinion. Like, I mean, Castle Nathria, I mean, if you're looking at just the raids since the last 2 expansions, like since Shadowlands, I mean, Castle Nathria, like, kind of windmill dunks all of these raids. Like, Castle Nathria is easily the best one in Shadowlands. But, like, is there... Vault the Incarnates, Aberrus, or Mirror Soul, are any of these raids better than Castle Nathria? That would be an insane take to argue any of these were. It's just not true. Castle Nathria is the best raid since Nighthold. And Castle Nathria came out 5 years ago. And Nighthold came out 9 years ago. You don't like hearing that it was 4 years ago? It's realistically 4 years ago. It was 2020 in December. So yeah, it is. It's like 3 years and or 4 years and like 2 months. 4 years and yeah. So what you're saying is this is going to be the best raid in the last 5 years. Oh, so you're saying like it seems like there's a 5-year gap in between every banger raid? Wait a second, is that actually true? So like just going off of the ones that I listed as like the best. It was Throne of Thunder, which was in 2012. And then Legion, which is in Nighthold, which was 2016, but like it came out either beginning of 2017 or beginning of 2016, which would have been like 4 or 5 years. And then Castle Nathria was in December of 2020. Nighthold was 2017. So that is 5 years away from... But then that would make only... it'd be like almost 4 years in between Castle Nathria and Nighthold. Just casually ignoring WoD. WoD had good raids, but yeah. Blackrock Foundry in between. True. So we should be getting a good raid soon. I mean, I think the raids have been good. There definitely hasn't been like a, this is one of the best raids ever. I mean, I definitely think that this upcoming raid has a chance to be one of the best raids ever. And it has like, just bear with me for a second. It has literally nothing to do with the bosses. Like, if I had never even tested any of the bosses, this is an opinion that basic. That theme matters a lot, and they are so doubling and tripling down on the theme that so many people might end up loving this raid and this patch just because of the atmosphere around it. And if the raid ends up being like good to above average, it may make it feel like it's fucking crazy good. Because the flavor is just crazy good. It's just simply amazing. There's no other way around that. It's just really fucking good. So because of that, if you're looking at like hitting a home run, all of those raids we've mentioned that are like the GOATs, right? Like the 3 we just mentioned, Blackrock Foundry, Throne of Thunder, and Castle Nathria. All of those raids were good because they had very good raid bosses, but like also they're all really fucking cool raids. Like what it looks like to be in them gives you a feeling that you don't get when you're in like Oldir, you know? It's just it's a real thing. Like the atmosphere and what it looks like, the aesthetic of a raid really fucking matters. The aesthetic of this raid and the music in this raid is like 10 out of 10 goated. So if they can end up having a couple of the fights be pretty good and memorable, like all-time memorable, then I think it has a chance to be one of those raids. That's my take. And that's again, I would be making this take if I literally never saw a raid boss, because I'm actually kind of indifferent on the raid. There's not even a single boss really where I'm like, this boss is a turbo banger. None of them. Literally none of them. Now, I haven't seen Gallywix, and that's the most important one. But like none of the bosses to me are like, this is going to be awesome. Now, I don't have a 100% hit rate on that. Sometimes I think bosses are going to be awesome and they stink, and sometimes I think bosses are going to stink and they're going to be awesome, because they change a lot from testing. But the aesthetic hard carries. I think. Do you feel the bosses in Undermine are kind of mid? Yeah. But they're not bad. Like, none of the bosses in Undermine are actively bad fights at all. They're just kind of whatever. I don't know. Also, this was a pretty interesting... I'm basing this all off of testing, but this was a pretty interesting test cycle. So, like, testing started in the middle of January, and they, like, speed ran it, but that's because all the devs were, like, on Christmas vacation for multiple weeks. So, like, 2 months before this patch, all the devs took a couple weeks off. That would slow down how ready you are for a patch, no matter who you are, right? Because that's just how, like, working on things works. So maybe it's like more things are going to be finished like closer to the raid this time because of specifically that week. We don't often have raids like right after the holidays. It's actually more common that we have a raid like November, December than it ever is to be in like January, February. It's very rare. I think the last raid we had in January, February was Nyalotha, and then before that it was Battle of Dazar'alor, top of my head. I may be missing one. But it's like 2 raids in the last like 10 years have been in January or February. Max, why does Blizzard dislike Havoc? Yes. I'm sure that's not a biased opinion. I think it's probably pretty objective to just say that Blizzard just randomly dislikes a spec. Yes. Bandit in the Smolderon slot seems like a heater. Yeah, I think that one has a chance to be good, but like, have you tested it? Like, we had a great test on Bandit. We know what the whole fight looks like, and we know exactly how we want to do it. But like, you know, it's just like a boss. I don't know. It doesn't slap to me, but maybe it will, you know? So the last raid, that was in Q1 Limit 1. But then we lost the one before that, though. So can we expect Liquid to win again? I don't know. It's kind of hard to expect anything in the race. The race is really competitive. We like raiding, though. Raiding's fun. Max, for you guys, I feel like tuning plays a much larger part in whether something slaps. That's true of everyone, though. So you said, like, Sludgefist wasn't mechanically complex, but it was... Sludgefist was mechanically complex. Sludgefist was so hard. But it was awesome because of the check. Yeah, but, like, okay. So, look at this, this last raid, right? Like, Nexus Princess Kaiveza. That boss was tuned to be super hard, but we had to, like, one-tank it. That made the boss significantly worse because the tuning was off in the other direction. If they made Sludgefist, like, you got to the end of the boss and then it just died, you didn't have to optimize damage, it would make it a little bit less, but the boss still owned. You know, Guardians of the first ones in Sepulchre, which was right after Sludgefist. It was the Sludgefist V2 right after Sludgefist, but it sucked. It was super easy, but also, even if it was, like, a hard burn, it wouldn't have been as cool because it's just not as cool of a boss. Like, Sludgefist is a... Have you ever looked at Sludgefist, dude? He's a fucking beast. Look at this idiot. This guy's a fucking giant Giga Chad with a gravestone on his back, dude. It's a beast. Aesthetic, man. Aesthetic really matters. But I think tuning matters for everyone, man. Like, if a boss that's super cool just gets fucking one-shot, it's just... I mean, a boss that gets shit on can only be so good. Like, bosses that you... It's like an Elden Ring thing, right? Like, why do people revere Elden Ring? It's that feeling of, like, getting smoked by a boss for, like, 15, 20 tries, but then, like, you're getting better every time and you finally beat it. Like, in those first 20 pulls, you're like, this game sucks, fuck this game. And then you kill it and you're like, this matters so much to me. And then you'll like get a fucking display of that boss. And like, you'll just, anytime your friend is pulling that boss on stream, you're going to watch that shit. And that boss means something to you. It can only mean something to you if you go through that, you know? Like if you just walk up to an Elden Ring boss and put that little dude in the sink, you know, you just fucking rinse that idiot. You are never going to think about that boss ever again. Because it's just easy. Something requiring a challenge to get through is the only way you'll care about it. They should make one less raid and expansion and make 2 raids and have them be bigger and give a better difficulty curve. No, fuck that. Bigger raids are not better or higher quality. Oh, someone actually sent me a message on Twitter recently about a comment I made on a podcast. I basically said, like, you know what I would be a fan of? Blizzard, the corporation, just hiring more people so they can do more work. Because I'm like, I haven't worked in a ton of jobs like that, but that just seems easy to me. And then he brought up something to me that seemed kind of smart. Here's what he said. Yo, Max, I was listening to the podcast the other week, and I liked the discussion you guys had about adding more devs and production people to teams at Blizzard that work on different areas of WoW, the challenges that presents, and whether or not it helps timelines that are already too tight. I'm a software developer working in a non-gaming industry, and among us developers and project managers is a concept called Brooks Law, which is the theory that adding more people to a project that's already running late actually just ends up making it even later. There's even a book about it called The Mythical Man Month, where the main idea is if you look at the effort left to complete a project and try to measure it in terms of how much work one person can do per month, you can't just speed the process up by adding more people, which in parentheses man months, to the project. It's a pretty interesting issue, and it just drives the point home that you can't do much to fix a timeline that is way too tight, even if you have a bunch of people you could pull in to work on the project. Most people working in software in any capacity have probably seen this happen where something is late. Executives throw more people at the problem to try to fix it, and it ends up worse off and even later than it could have been. So, and then he ended up just saying, like, love the podcast. I hope you like my ramble. But I found that crazy interesting. I never thought about that. So maybe that is a thing. What is it? Brooks Law applies to something that's already overscheduled, though, not continued development. Yeah, but I think... So first of all, yes, I'm not saying this directly applies to Blizzard. I just was not aware of that, and I find that interesting. But, like, I think Blizzard is kind of constantly behind. Like, I think they operate from, like, being late on a deadline, like, literally forever because they're trying to churn out so much content. So it kind of does always apply because they're always not caught up. Mod him? Bro, I don't even know his fucking Twitch name. I think he's just a podcast listener. But if you're listening to this, blow up. Max, I'd be interested in your take on the Tyler 1 drama. Someone with your raid experience. I don't care about anything about OnlyFans, man. You won't want to know my take on it. I don't know any of the people, and I don't follow it. It means nothing to me. Just make it up? All right. Well, Tyler 1 clearly made the wrong choice. If that's what he did. Max, are you going to ever actually play the game again, or are you just going to be a bio WeakAuras farming for a week during a tier and then poof out? That's what I am, bro. I'm just a fucking WeakAuras. I'm a WeakAuras person. I don't know, man. I mean, I usually, if I'm playing a class that I really find fun and I'm really enjoying playing the game, I get into it. I'll tell you what has made me not play the game for the past 2 patches, because I played a ton in Season 3. Bro, it's the, like, it's the crest catch-up thing. Like, because I don't farm on my own characters while the rest of my players are farming. You want to know why? Because, like, this is the first time we can see Gallywix. And my time as problem solver strategy man is... My time is best served permanently thinking about how we can successfully complete this raid. Not gearing up my fucking characters. So because of that, the race ends. We're like 3 weeks in. Everyone's super zooted, and my character's a pile of garbage. And it's so far behind, and I already have to farm like so many dungeons to get caught up. And then sometimes I do. But then I'm like, you know what? I actually want to play another character. Oh, wait. I would have to do all of this again. And then I just stop. But also there's part of it too. Like, I think there's so many elements to it. Because I do really enjoy playing WoW. Like, dude, PvE WoW, like the gameplay of PvE WoW, and you have a geared character and you're doing any kind of hard content, it's just, if you're good at it and you understand it and you like it to begin with, it's just like, there's nothing in gaming like it. It fucking owns. I still feel that. But I don't know, man. I have like other interests in my life, just in general. And also there's one big caveat. So you guys watched the Super Bowl the other day, right? So in the NFL, or in most sports, there's like a preseason, there's a regular season, and then all of that happens, and then it's building up to like the playoffs, and then whatever the championship game is in whatever sport you like watching, or esport, like a major cup or whatever. But like League doesn't start in Worlds. There's like a spring split, a summer split, MSI, and then there's Worlds. There's this built-up anticipation, and there's anytime you're playing the game, there's a reason you're playing it. You're building towards something. Okay, and WoW, it's fucking weird. In the Race to World first, it's like the patch drops, and you just rip like a Super Bowl real quick. You rip the championship game. You do all of the important shit, and then it's over. And it's really hard to get invested in all of the small stuff that would be leading up to that when the game's already been played. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense as to why I don't feel a lot of motivation to play live? Like, if the Race to World first was like 3 months into the patch, I'd be like fucking locked in for 3 months leading up to it. But because it just happens and it's over, like, what is there to play for? Like, the MDI, the TGP, what? Like, it's like... It's just, we've already done the thing. I'm not saying they should change anything because of that or anything. I'm not suggesting. Someone said the guy wants delayed content. I don't want them to do anything. I'm just trying to help you understand my psychology. Like why I don't feel, why a lot of our players don't feel like they want to grind live keys or do MDI or TGP, because we've already done the most important thing. It's already over and you're just preparing for the next one, you know? Who or what is the halftime show in your analogy? You're missing the point. That's okay, though. That is okay. Points can be missed. Are you nervous class stacking will be a thing next year? Am I nervous? Nervous isn't the right word. I mean, you can't, like, really stack classes because this game requires, like, 15 people in your raid to be these predetermined things that bring raid buffs. So, like, the most you can ever stack a class is 1 to, like, 3 or 4, maybe. And even then, like, with a lot of our rosters, you'd be spreading your roster pretty thin to commit to something like that. So, as usual, there will probably be guilds prepared to run 3 or 4 or 2 of something kind of niche, and then you end up doing the raid and you realize you always end up playing your best players on their best classes anyway. Because even at this level, that's usually just the right thing to do, and then you alter it a little bit based on what the current meta is of the patch, and then what the current raid requires. Like, you could have the exact same meta, like literally identical class balancing in 2 different raids, and the class you bring might be totally different because of what the fights require of you rather than what the classes do themselves. So there's a lot involved, and you have to figure it out. Do you want us to predict the Race to World first comp? I can. We did that last time, and it was actually pretty fun. That was a fun video. I think we'll probably do that a little closer to the raid coming out, so you guys can have a little bit more time. Like, what hasn't even happened yet is, like, what people normally do going into a raid is like some WoW news website, because they're not making a lot of money on ads recently, will release like a sim chart of what's happening next year, which is a bunch of completely different quality APLs running a 5-minute no movement single target sim, which by the way never fucking happens in an actual raid, and also some of them are completely wrong while other ones are completely right. So when looking at all of the sims in one big list, what they're kind of presenting to you is like, this is what people's damage looks like next patch, but it's just comically fucking wrong for so many reasons. But like, people take it as like, there's no other information, right, other than like people speculating. So like, people just take that at face value, and it's just so fucking wrong. But like, that's when we should do the fake, like, you guys come up with what you think the comp will be, because you'll actually have more information than right now. Like, what people see right now, like the common public opinion, is probably just like what classes you've seen do well in Mythic Plus on like Mythic Plus player streams on PTR. Because like, a lot of good raid testing isn't even streamed, and you can't even tell who's doing good damage in raid testing because classes are bugged, broken, or otherwise not working, or working too well. What is it? You got to do the talks with class people soon. Otherwise, you're going to make excuses that you got stuff to do. What the fuck? I mean, I do have stuff to do. Bro, I swear, like, every day Team Liquid's like, hey, there's another filming day we need you to do before the race. I think there's, between now and the race, in just weekdays, I think I have 4 or 5 full days of, like, recording content. Which, by the way, I fucking hate. I've realized that is the thing that I hate more than anything about what I do. Like, when I first started doing, like, commercials and, like, Race to World First announcements and stuff for, you know, I've been doing it for a long time now. Like, there was some novelty to it. It's like, hey, I'm like, you know, my job is I get to, like, record content sometimes. That's pretty cool. But, bro, I have been growing to really dislike any kind of filming process. Like, the nature of filming is, like, you're just sitting around most of the day waiting for, like, the new set to be made and stuff like that. So, like, it's 80% just fucking sitting there and doing nothing, which is tragic. And also, I just hate being on camera. Now, this might sound weird because you're listening to me on camera right now. But, like, I don't like watching. This is fine for me. This is a chill vibe. I'm at my house. But, like, watching, like, produced content where I have to act and shit, that makes me want to actually blow up. I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate filming it. I hate knowing that it exists in the universe. I've never watched any of them. Never could do that. But, like, I hate all of it. It's the thing I hate the most about all this. But I know I have to do it because I'm, like, to TL, I'm who their sponsors care about in the WoW team, so my face has to always be there. But, goddamn, I fucking hate it. He's getting a phone call in the morning with a verbal warning. Bro, tomorrow in the morning, I'm going to be fucking recording shit. Max, will you guys be at the facility again for this race? I'm not sure if we're doing an event yet. I guess you'll have to wait till it's announced. I'm unsure. Who knows? Max, have you tried giving them a cardboard cutout of yourself to film as your proxy? Okay, funny story about that. So in all of my years at Complexity and Liquid, I have never been late to or missed an obligation ever. It's never happened. Okay? But last month I fucked up. I was streaming actually, and I got a call from my Team Liquid talent manager. And she was like, hey, are you on your way? And obviously, so in case you guys aren't used to being late to things, when you hear someone ask you, hey, are you on your way, when you have no idea what's going on, that's a brutal, that's tough. And when you're streaming, that's a oh shit moment. So I totally fucking forgot about it. And then I couldn't be there for the shoot, and I had to like take my dog to the vet. She had broken her toe. She's still recovering from it. So not only was I late and not there, but I also couldn't go. And the shoot still happened, but I felt so bad about it, and they were definitely mad at me about it for very good reason. Like, I mean, that's just bad. That's not good, right? But speaking of that, I believe some solution they had was that like I ended up being a cardboard cutout in the video. They filmed some cardboard cutout stuff in place of me, which I don't dislike that. That's great, bro. If the bit could just be like all the commercials that have me in it are instead cardboard cutouts, that would be so ideal. It's crazy. That sounds like the best idea of all time. Someone needs to make this bit work. No one will know the difference. I'll accept this slander at this time, just in the small chance that this could happen. Max, with no heroic week, why is Liquid still making more buckets? Some of them are up to like 15. Is there a specific chase item? Yo, are y'all fucking stalking us? What are you talking about right now? How do you know that? Are you fucking, you got all of our characters on a goddamn spreadsheet or something? Sus G. How the fuck do you know that? How do you know about these buckets? I mean, it just happens every single raid, bro. Every raid, you're like, how much does doing splits make sense versus like it being too much time? And then like each guild has their own idea, and then like one guild will add 2 characters, and then every other guild feels like they have to, and then they add 2 characters. So it was us and Amir Drasil, we added characters, so then Echo had to do it. I think Echo recently added characters, so we're like, all right, fuck it, we got to do it. And we know what we would use them for. It's just like whether you would actually want to do that. But you can't ever be in a position where someone does more than you. So, I mean, there's definitely like diminishing returns, right? Like if you have 15 characters instead of 12, that doesn't mean you're going to do like 3 more full heroics and stuff. It could mean that you're targeting specific bosses, or you want them just in case. You know, like sometimes bosses, you intend to like giga split them, but it turns out they're way harder, but you still need to loot, which means like you need to have more people in guild with characters so you can actually do the amount of runs. I don't know. It's not great. It's single-handedly the worst part of the Race to World First. The amount of splits being run and the amount of characters you have, and the fact that they're all usually just like the same class as your main. They're not even alts. They're just like the same thing just over and over again. It's the worst part about the race to do, and it's also the biggest thing that deters players. Like the only reason Ben is not playing, the only reason Evade is not playing, purely, and I'm sure this is the case for multiple great players from other guilds, but like it's the reason a lot of people don't keep doing this, and the reason they don't come back. It is purely because of the amount of characters you need. Super annoying. What is it? I would argue the lack of $1 million prize pool is worse. I mean, okay, sure. Like if there's a $1 million prize pool, you'd probably see a lot more people in, but like if there wasn't that many characters, it would lower the amount of farm runs you had to do a week, and everyone loves doing progression. So like basically, even if there was no prize pool, but all they did was lower the amount of characters you needed to have to a reasonable number, you wouldn't even, you already get paid monthly for this, and you make big lump sum payments during the race. The money isn't bad. But then, like, imagine how much better the money would be if you lowered the amount of effort you had to do to get it by, like, probably a third. Like, you'd be doing a third of the effort with that, with less characters. That would like, make it so much easier. What is the fix to that, though? There really isn't any. We've talked about this a lot. There's really nothing they could do besides, like, vastly changing the... Here's the short answer. They can't fix this without making annoying changes for everyone else who plays the game, so it's a non-starter. You know? Like, for them to fix Race to World First splits, they would have to just incur these, like, really annoying, like, multiple account, multiple character gearing penalty things. And then, like, just for the average player, it's just, like, this annoying thing that exists only because of the race. It just, there's no, like, I've never heard a single credible argument as to, like, here's how you fix splits. It just doesn't exist. If it's only one run per account, first of all, that fucks everyone who plays this game. And even then, we would just make new accounts. Instead of 15 characters, we would just have 15 accounts. I'm not even making this up. That's how ridiculous this shit is. Like, you can't do it. Even the Tourney Realm stuff. The Tourney Realm doesn't solve it. Max, or they could just make Mythic fixed eye level till Race World First is complete. I mean, I think a big part of the Race World First is the fact that these are people's characters. They're doing this grind. Something you wouldn't do. People don't usually watch the race and they're like, oh, I'm watching something relatable that I can do. They're watching something that you probably couldn't do, and that's what makes it fascinating. Kind of like watching sports. I don't know if putting on the tournament realm would make that. I mean, I don't know. Like a world for me where we just have our raiders and anyone can make a character on the tournament realm and you can just buy perfect gear and the bosses are perfectly tuned for what's available. But wouldn't that just take away from the design element and how well the bosses are made for everyone else in the live game? It doubles the amount of work, right? You have to, not doubles, but increases the work by a lot to create this like tournament realm Race World First version versus like the version for everybody else. Is there a World First Live and World First Tournament realm? Like, what are we? Are they different difficulty? Like, what are we doing here? You know? Blizzard should do nothing for the Race World First because the Race World First is not Blizzard's to do anything for. I mean, it kind of is. Like, Blizzard has non-stop ramped up their support for the race for many, many years. I actually believe they're, like, doing something for it this patch. I don't know what it is. I just heard some shit. But yeah, it's like... I mean, the race does crazy amounts of things for WoW. Like, Blizzard... If Blizzard just knew for whatever reason that the race died, that would be so fucking bad for them. Do you know how much games would kill for, like, anytime you're releasing new content, there's this enormous event on stream of people doing your new content? That is like a fucking dream. Any game, they would do anything to have that, right? Which is why you could make an argument that like Blizzard could do more. I mean, hell yeah, that sounds good to me. Let's get a fucking prize pool going. Fuck yeah, pay us, pay me now. You know, that sounds great. But so they do support it and they don't want it to die, but also like it's become really successful by them not really doing anything. So they're probably terrified of doing something. Also, Blizzard, as a company, doesn't have a great track record with, like, running esports, you know? Like, Overwatch was kind of cool, and then they, like, Overwatch leagued it, and they killed it. And, like, StarCraft was cool as the community thing, and then they, like, took it over. I don't know if I want Blizzard to be like, all right, we're the arbiters of the race now. I feel like it could just get worse. You know? It works the way it is. Even though there's a lot of issues, you know. I mean, I think the fact is right now is that Blizzard, like, it's still working. Like, if it started dying, or if, like, people just stopped doing it because simply the, like, critical mass of doing, like, 12 characters for 5 years just made everyone who's good at this quit, Blizzard would probably be like, I mean, if Blizzard's smart, they would do, like, almost anything to not lose the race. They just don't know if they're in that position, right? And I don't necessarily think they are, but, like, if they ever were, it would be in their best interest to, like, make sure it survives. Bro, you run ad, like, every 5 minutes. Holy shit. No, I don't. Blow up. Max, thoughts on what Soda did with OnlyFans? Artificial event, same as race. They made it last month. Try to do that with retail for a bunch of streamers. No, that wouldn't work. It's like that's like a classic only thing. I mean, it's just about like drama. You just need to create drama. But I don't like creating fake drama. I don't like that. It's a reality show for the terminal. Yeah, it's Jersey Shore for terminally online people. Max, did you see T1's crash out? No, I don't follow that. Someone said retail WeakAuras play the game for you. Yeah. W take. OnlyFans about to die, calling it now. They've only done the raid 2 to 3 times. Everyone's ready to move on. I mean, everything comes to an end. With something being interesting. Like, remember the first time Hardcore was out? It was like the biggest shit ever. And then it just like kind of has its time. But then you can bring it back. Like, I think OnlyFans this time proved that you can bring it back. The thing is with Classic is transitioning more into like a watching experience rather than a playing experience, which is an interesting world. Like, you have to like that. It's kind of like GTRP. Like, GTRP is like massive on Twitch, but I don't think a lot of people play GTRP. It's just an extremely watchable thing. A lot of people also do play GTRP, but like relatively, like if you were to use viewership on a category as a way to indicate how many people are playing it, I think GTRP and also Classic WoW would give you a very different picture. But like retail is like I feel like if you're watching retail, you're playing retail. Like, why would you watch retail content if you're not currently playing retail? Actually, I have heard from some people in my chat that they're like haven't played in a while, but they still just like listen, just to like have something to listen to. Does watching your stream count as retail content? I mean, like today, I guess not. I mean, like most of my content is pretty centered around retail, right? That's a thing. So yeah, I feel like you'd have to be. My wife's a Final Fantasy player, but likes to watch the race, mostly for the commentators, actually. Yeah, you want to know how I know the race is like kind of like addicting? So I got therapy a few years ago, and it was this really cool guy was working with me, but he was kind of old and he didn't really understand the race. And I didn't tell him to do this, but he like he had apparently like told himself like I was breaking to go do the race, and he wanted to understand like what the race was so he could kind of understand it for me and like help me deal with it or whatever. And then I talked to him after the race, like a week after it was over. It's like a month after that point, and he watched like the whole thing. Like he was saying shit that like he was saying bits, so he was like locked in. Like he watched like all of it. And that's, I don't think he was probably intending to do that. The race is just something that you start watching and you're just like, you just keep watching it. If you know anything about WoW. But he knew nothing about video games even. Like, was he hitting you with that type shit? No, this was years ago. I don't need it anymore. I just went to therapy a few years ago because, like, I don't know. It's hard. Like, okay, here's... So you know how, like, the Echo stream is, like, the main stream for their guild? I think a lot of the, like... I'm sure there's plenty of deranged fucking idiot NA fans, but they kind of just type into the Echo channel, which is, like, none of their players directly, and the hate gets thrown as their guild as a whole, and it's pretty easy to ignore. But, like, for our guild, my stream has more viewers than the Liquid or the Complexity stream. So, like, all that hate gets thrown at me. And for years, that existed even outside of the raid. I was, like, this antagonistic figure for all these people, you know? And that was just fucking hard to deal with. You can read enough negative comments to where you just start feeling like shit. So I just needed some help getting it. But I'm, like, chill with that now. I haven't given a fuck about that in years. Therapy was actually pretty fucking good for that. But, yeah, I, like, fucked my head up. Max, do you think a gentleman's... Nope. Let's hope this tier doesn't get politicized with the current situation. Huh? What do you mean? What current situation? What's happening? Bro, is there some crazy fucking drama I missed or something? What's going on? The U.S. politics versus the world? Huh? Is that... Oh, I mean, I don't pay attention to politics at all. Maybe you're right. But could I throw in a counter argument? U.S. politics is always this, like, insane clown show. We're fucking idiots. Laugh at us kind of thing. Isn't that, like, kind of always happening? Maybe? I don't know. No? It's worse? I'm not too worried about it. This is different. Oh, you think, like... Okay, because, like, Gulf of America and because, like, our country's doing some dumb shit, you think it's, like, more people are going to tune into the race and be like, oh, man, I need this NA guild to lose because of this thing. That didn't already watch it? Maybe? I don't know. I kind of doubt it. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a bunch of haters. I can definitely see weirdos thinking that. But the thing is there's not a lot of weirdos. Like, I've gotten used to having, like, a decent amount of viewers. And anytime there's someone saying some weird shit, it's actually, like, one in, like, let's say I have 5,000 viewers. Let's say, like, maybe 500 of them are actively chatting. There's going to be one turbo weirdo just typing some kind of combination of crazy things. So they're, like, people that are crazy enough to think that shit are even... less rare than, like, the people who are crazy enough to think that shit, but then also, like, type in a random Twitch stream about it. It's, like, really uncommon. The fact that there'd be a ton to, like all band together and just, like, the stream chat is talking nothing about WoW and just all about politics, I just can't even imagine that. Probably also they'd get timed out, but it's just, like, just knowing how people work, like, generally speaking, the large majority of people tuned into any stream, or at least my streams, are, like, reasonable adults. But, like, all it can take is one non-reasonable, deranged person to start typing, and then everyone starts responding to them, and it seems like a bigger deal than it is, and it's actually just one person getting everyone riled up. Usually in this stream they get mod. No, I don't mod the, like, really crazy ones. That's just a bad idea. Do you think it's ever possible for people and also some players, to be honest, to take banter way less seriously, just as in other sports? Feels like you almost can't jokingly flame/troll the other guild without a big drama erupting, although that's a lot of content and fun in other titles. That is a good point, actually. I think the reason why is because, like, in other esports, you're not watching the player's POV. You're watching, or, like, the team's individual stream. Like, that's just a different dynamic. Like, if you're typing in, like, a CSGO tournament, and there's going to be one channel that everyone's watching, or maybe two, and it's, like, different languages are casting it, but, like, those chats are everyone's in one space. And, like, if that happened, people would be super used to it. But what you have is people watch the race, if you're an Echo fan, from the Echo POV with Echo moderators that will aggressively time out anything that's, like anti-Echo or, like, just toxic in general. Same thing with our stream. Like, my stream and the Liquid stream. Like, if you're super toxic or whatever, you're going to get timed out because people have, like, that team's interest. It's not one universal party. It's, like, both teams. So I think that's why everything gets blown out of proportion a little bit. But also, like, you know, the relations aren't great, so people will act like if everyone was under the impression that, like, all the guilds got along and they wouldn't take this thing very seriously, then like the fans would probably act accordingly. But like when the fired up thing happened last year, our whole guild was so fucking mad at him for that, at Gingy. Like, that's real shit. So like the reason it gets blown, in quotes, blown out of proportion is because our fans can obviously tell that we're actually so fucking mad at them, and they're gonna feel that way. But if we were like joking around and didn't care, it wouldn't be this big deal. But it was a big deal, you know. Man, I would not want to be Scripe or Roger this race. The amount of grief they're going to take this race over the Azalea stuff is going to be nuts. You think it's any more than last race? Wasn't... They already dealt with this from last race. There's nothing new. Like, before last race, there was multiple allegations, and Azalea's like, all this shit ain't true. And then they removed him, and then his fans were like... Or people were like, you shouldn't have removed him. Fuck you. And Echo's like, we removed him, so obviously we thought we should have removed him. And then the only thing that's happened since then is that that's come up again, and Echo stood by their stance, and Zalia's like, I shouldn't have been kicked. And then WoW Esports made him not able to compete. But like nothing else has changed. It's the same thing. Max, will you multi-stream on YouTube for this race? Yeah. Yo, I also made crazy dollars doing that last time. YouTube streaming is so fucking good. I didn't even, like, realize it, but those YouTube streams, which were basically just, like, on, were just raking in crazy money. Was it now kind of put Scripe on blast for it? I mean, unless this is like really recent. I remember reading the one a couple weeks ago, but I thought Scripe's position from like internally at Echo like totally made sense. Like I did not read that and I was like, Scripe got fucking owned. Like I think Scripe and Echo probably did what they had to do. I like as someone who's can kind of understand that decision making. Like they were kind of like I don't think Echo had any choice if they wanted to retain any sponsors ever, and they need that for their whole guild. But like obviously if people are like, well, you chose sponsors over your boy if they genuinely think he didn't do anything. Like one thing that's super important is while I'm talking about this, I don't know anything about this situation. I don't know if he did it, didn't do it. I haven't even read the claims against him or his denying it. Like I don't know anything. I haven't read it. It's nothing to do with me. I haven't even read it, right? I'm just going off of like, you know, general community sentiment that I've been reading. Max, your YouTube streams ended after 12 hours and then you didn't restream it, so watching VODs is annoying. I know, it sucks so bad. I need to figure out a solution to this, but like, we stream for like 14 to 15 hours a day, but YouTube VODs are only 12 hours long. So if you stream for longer than 12 hours, the YouTube VOD just simply cuts off. I mean, obviously a solution is you just stream from Twitch and then you just restart your YouTube stream 12 hours in. Just refresh it during lunch. Yeah, that's... Okay, so what you're saying sounds very easy, but I would just forget that. I think they were too afraid because of the whole Method Josh situation. Yeah, so I'm not super familiar with what Zalia people said about him. But as far as I know, I don't think the allegations are anywhere near what Method Josh did. But you are correct in that I mean, it took Blizzard years to like trust raid guilds again after the Josh thing. That was terrible for them. They hated that that existed and happened like in their game. So, but that being said though, you know, if you're Echo, which is just, you know, they were all there for the Josh thing. It was just, you know, they kind of just like left and made their own guild and left out the leader of the old guild. So like if you're that guild having another person with any kind of allegations, it was a long time ago, so like some time has passed, but you can definitely understand that their organization is going to be extremely careful with anything like that because they're not going to be put in that position again. They saw what happened last time when you ignore those things, right? Regardless of what you think about them. So yeah, I mean, makes sense. Like you can't like have Blizzard not on your side, you know? Like, if Blizzard is, like, sketched out by you, like, if they think the worst, like, you're harboring someone like you were with Josh, and then you're doing it again, like, you can't, they wouldn't, yeah, that's bad. Equating Zalia to Josh is high-key an insult to Josh's victims. IMO is way worse. Yeah, I thought I stated that, like, before I started talking about any of this. Maybe I didn't do it well, but yeah, I did say that. I was just saying from Echo's POV. Yeah, I'm just saying on God. Okay. Oh, I'm glad you put it on God then. Okay. That's fine. I mean, Jack to this day is still being punished by Blizzard even after Blizzard cleared his name. Oh yeah, that's interesting too. Like, Jack basically had some allegations against him. And again, I probably shouldn't be talking about this because I don't actually know anything about the allegations against him and if they were actually cleared or if whether Blizzard cleared him of any wrongdoing. I think I remember reading that, but I don't know if that was from Jack's POV. I don't kind of know. But basically what happened is, while he was being investigated, they had someone else cast in his place. He's a host, actually. Like, he's a good host. So they got a different host. I think it was Doa. Which totally makes sense they would have done that if they didn't have time to, like, investigate it. If you have someone with some allegations, you probably shouldn't have them work until, like, investigate that shit. But if it's true that Blizzard investigated whatever shit was against him and it came back, like, not bad, like, he didn't do it or it was over, I don't know, whatever goes on with that, but... and then he didn't get his job back, that sucks for Jack. Like, if you're Jack, you're so mad. Now, if you're from Blizzard, is it fucked up? Like, imagine you hire someone, and they've been doing a great job. Like, does it make sense to fire them? It's been like a year, you know? So I kind of understand Blizzard not firing the person they hired. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're Jack, you definitely are like, damn, you know? I feel like I got fucked, and he did. If all that's true. I want to point out that any kind of allegations of any kind are very serious, and I don't know enough about them to really be commenting on them, which is, I don't really know why I'm doing this. I'm just kind of talking about what people in chat are talking about, but, yeah. Method second this tier and Liquid on top. That would be a great outcome for me because that means we win. But Method beating Echo, that would be fucking insane. That would be crazy. I honestly just, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, and this is no flame to Method at all. Like, Method coming out and actually, like, just straight up beating Echo or us would be like, I just don't even know if I'd believe that until I see it. Like, as someone who's just followed the race for a really long time and been in the race, you know? Even if they keep getting better and they're getting closer and closer, it's just hard to believe until it actually happens, if that makes sense. I know that sounds weird coming from me because I'm just like, there's no way they could beat us. Not even what I'm saying. It's like, because I've even acknowledged they've gotten a lot better. It's just like, it's so hard to believe. Like, even just taking us out of it, just the idea that they could beat Echo, well, like, they have so much more experience. I think Echo's players are probably better. Like, For them to do that would be an insane moment in gaming, honestly. I lost some respect for a few Method players last year when they were posting about Fired Up. Oh yeah, fuck all of them. I mean, I kind of get it. They got like super banned. So like they're like really touchy on the exploit stuff. And also a lot of the people are probably newer to the race. They don't really know what Fired Up was doing and how like normal stuff like that is. So like there's a lot of things you could give them a pass for, but yeah, I'm pretty much fully on anyone that ever said anything about Fired Up last raid. Fuck them forever, and I'll never give them any respect yet. I'm super curious why Frag rejoined Method. What, like recently? Did he stop playing recently and then went back? I mean, he probably wants the game. What do you mean? Max, do you ever check for that type of shit for new recruits? Whether they've said some off-the-cuff shit about a current Liquid player? I mean, if like someone in the guild remembers it, yeah, we don't like fucking search their shit, I guess. I don't know. I mean, bro, we recruited the guy who go methoded us and stole that piece of gear in Eternal Palace as a helper. Like, you know, he's not here anymore. Actually, I think he's in Method or Echo. He's in one of those guilds, isn't he? I think he's in one of those guilds, I'm pretty sure. He's in either Method or Echo. He's in Method. So, guys, think about that. You, too, could be a Race World First Raider. You could join another guild splits, steal a piece of gear from them on purpose, get it, loot it to you, don't trade it. Or trade it, get someone to trade it to you, and then don't fucking, like, give it to them. And then just type go Liquid. And maybe you'll be in Liquid one day. Because that's exactly what happened with him in Method. Like, this guy did this years ago and then is now in Method. Well, still, Fragnance is a legend. Yeah, Fragnance is a beast, dude. He's an OG. Super OG. How stressful is the race for you? Is it hype or more you can't wait for it to be done and get back to streaming? I mean, I fucking love the race. I used to get way more stressed out about it because I used to attach a lot of my self-worth to whether we won or lost. Like, if we lost, I just felt like I was fucking worthless. And if we won, I didn't even feel good. I was just like, at least I'm not worthless. And that was years ago. And then, I don't know, you just learn how to, when something's your job, you know? Like, sometimes you win or you lose, but it doesn't define you as a person. But you still put, I put a lot of effort into it because I find it really, really fun. I love doing it. If I ever didn't love doing it, I would quit. Because I wouldn't want to, like, have all that expectation and pressure and not, like, actually put my best foot forward. But yeah, I don't know. I don't get that stressed out about it anymore because I know I'm going to do my best. I know I'm really good at what I do. Once the race starts, I know what kind of value I have, and that's really fun. And win or lose, I know I tried. Oh, we're barking. We're barking. Oh, they're excited. They're so barking. Oh, we're Reptar. Buddy. No way we're barking right now. Max, do you think Gallywix will be over or under 10 minutes? I would just guess right at 10 minutes or under, like the past, like 4 end bosses. Like before, when we lost, I would just be in like existential dread. Because like, especially like, there'd just be people that would just be like, you guys fucking suck. And I would feel like I let everyone down and that all these people were hating on me and shit. And it did suck. But then like, I don't know, you learn to like detach. You do your job. As long as you know you tried really hard, even if you lose, you can kind of just be like, you know, GG, go next. You get like beating yourself up over it like actually changes nothing. It doesn't make you more competitive or anything. It's just like you're just sad for no reason. Or like it's someone in the chat said, just always be in existential dread so nothing feels like existential dread. What is it? When your success is tied to one event, like the Race World First, it is a lot more stressful. Yeah, exactly. Like imagine if we had like, if Blizzard released one boss every weekend and like, it's like every boss mattered and you'd have some wins and some losses, but it's like you feel the feel of winning, you know? Like if you lose in the race, like bro, if you lose twice in a row in the race, you've just like been not number one for like a year. It's so long in between. Like there's so much weight in every single one because it just means you're the best in the world for like the next 6 months or longer. So it's all so it feels so important. It is important. Or when you lost the Shadowlands race and it was a year plus. Yeah, no, sometimes that happens. Max, professional coaches eventually get replaced. Do you feel like you'll ever have to worry about that if you don't win? I mean, if we like... So no, the answer to that's no, because I know I'm good at what I do and I know how to like work with our players and stuff like that. But just like in any coaching thing, if I felt it wasn't working... Actually, this is interesting. Do you know when most coaches get replaced in sports? Like what causes that to happen? It's not... It can be related to winning and losing, but there's something else I think that is much more important, and it almost always determines whether someone is fired or not. When they cost too much to keep? No. Yeah, there we go. A lot of you guys are getting it. Losing the locker room, when they lose the team, when the players stop listening, when they lose respect of the players. That's it. That's when it matters. Right? Like that's... Like, for example, if I'm the person making the final say on all of our strat and comp stuff and all these, like, millions of little micro decisions, if our players ever felt like I wasn't the best person for that for us, not only would I be replaced, I would replace myself. Like, I don't want to be in that position. Bro, can you imagine, like, putting in this much effort and the people around you don't think you're the best person for the job? That would... I wouldn't be able to do that. I need the confidence of my players in me or else I wouldn't be able to do this. So to answer your question, like, I guess that's when I would be replaced is when, like, I guess we probably, it usually comes from losing a few times. Cause like, even if you're not doing great, if you're winning, what works, you know, but like you're losing, but then also people lose trust in you, then yeah, I would definitely get replaced. I would replace myself. That's like, you can't do that. It's a symbiotic relationship. Like, not only would the players not do well if they didn't trust me, but if I knew my players didn't trust me, I couldn't do this. It would be, I would quit instantly. But I'm really fucking good at this. So that's not happening. How's the Liquid team feeling? Are you guys ready for a new raid? Yeah, we're feeling great. You gonna get Bean away from OnlyFans? I've never spoken to that guy. Do you guys already have an idea of what's going to be played to some extent? Yeah. There's always a lot that can change. Like, you have an idea, and then your first couple days of heroic splits, and specifically your time you spend on Gallywix is like super impactful as to what will be good. Like, Gallywix is kind of crazy, bro. I mean, Gallywix, like, almost certainly has, if not a mythic phase, a, like, mythic phase. It's not even, like, a secret. Like, it's a secret in that Blizzard isn't typing about it, but I think it's, like, fucking guaranteed that there is one. Not due to any data mining or anything. It's just, like, the boss in what they have listed is just not an end boss. It's just simply not. Unless they, like, just add a bunch of shit to the journal, which makes no sense that it wouldn't be in there at this point. They're definitely cooking some shit. It's been a while since the last mythic phase, so I think the viewers would love it. Yeah, I think the viewers will like it as long as it doesn't involve a lot of off-stream stuff, which it very well could. Do you think data mining should be stopped by Blizzard? Nah. Because the same reason that data mining exists is the same reason that you can, like, look up people's armories and, like, look up what an item is on Wowhead. And I think the benefits of that far outweigh the, like, data mining existing. Was it for off-stream stuff? Could you possibly full cam mute so it isn't just a full-on end stream for the parasocials? I like how you're like, yo, let's get some love for the parasocials out here. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like if we were to cam off, black screen, mute comms, and keep our streams on, I think that would make everyone involved more mad than just turning them off, by the way. Because not only, like, when you turn it off and Echo's not awake yet, there's nowhere for people to go to just be like, meh, you know? But, like, if we just let the streams on, the chat would be so toxic of people just Europeans just waking up and being so fucking mad. And I live my whole life trying not to get yelled at. That's a strong factor in any decision I make. So, we don't want to do that. Do you like guacamole? Fuck yeah. Oh, that's definitely the end of the stream. All right. I'm going to Vancouver in the next few days. So if you guys live in Vancouver, remember